Is that money getting captured somewhere? Wealth coordination account can do that. You paid off a car loan, freed up $450 a month. Capture it to your wealth coordination account. It makes
Or you cancel one of those 1,200 different monthly subscriptions for media that you don't really need. Make it a win and redirect that money back to the wealth coordination account.
Hello and welcome to Your Business, Your Wealth. My name is Paul Adams, founder, CEO of Sound Financial Group. I'm joined by Cory Shepard, president, partner, and the man you want in your corner when it comes to battling all things financial. Cory, so glad you could be here.
And me as well. I'm excited for this episode. You know, it's a topic that we've talked about with almost every one of our clients. Well, every one of our clients, and a lot of folks have seen videos that mention what we do in this area in the past, but it's something that, you know, in the midst of uncertainty about the stock market or politics or any of those things, it's a strategy that you have 100% control over, which is why I'm really, really excited. And I love the title that you came up with for this one, Paul. I'll let you say it aloud in case anyone missed it, but
A Cure for Retirement,
yeah.
The Wealth Coordination Account. Now let's talk a little bit about that word, retirement, because every financial institution says we need to be retirement planning. We need to save for retirement. We need to do this for retirement and that for retirement. But here's the major problem. If we go back to the early 1900s and we just look, especially in our founding of our country, in the 1700s, in the 1800s, all your American history classes, the word retire meant something different than the way we talk about it today. It meant to put something up on the shelf, out of use. It had reached the end of its usable lifespan. And that was the case when you had to retire an old plow. You retired an old suit. You retired old shoes. You
or the
retired
family horse.
Yeah, that was usually bad news for the horse.
It didn't work out well.
Exactly right. And you might say, I'm going to retire to the den for the evening with my scotch. But it meant you were no longer going to be of any use. And it wasn't till the advent of Social Security in the 1930s when we started to say, now we're going to retire people. Now, we know a lot of you listening are entrepreneurs and business owners. And for a great deal of us, we love what we do every day. The concept of retirement, that we would one day put ourselves out of use, that we'd get super good in our industry, we would get well known, we'd build large networks of help, produce accomplishments perhaps other people have never accomplished in our industries. Also that one day we cannot do it anymore. No wonder the term retirement doesn't resonate with people. So we're going to take you on the simple path of building what we refer to as definite financial independence for the sake of funding your work optional lifestyle. So we want to build definite financial independence to fund your work optional lifestyle, meaning you may continue to work to earn a living, or you may not, but it becomes your option. Whereas for many people, even people with very high incomes, people making $1.5 million, $2 million a year, they don't have the financial autonomy they desire because they don't have enough assets to yet feed that same need for monthly cash flow that they have that's currently being fed by their income. Cory, do you want to kick us off on the introduction to the centerpiece of building financial independence?
Sure. So as Paul shares his screen, we have here to start off our example, a household with a $400,000 annual income. Some nice round numbers. So you can easily scale that up or down to wherever you find yourself. And they've got that wealth coordination account down below. Now, the wealth coordination account has a few jobs. Number one, it's the first financial commitment that you want to make every month. And it's saying instead of making things like the other bills or the spending that you're going to do the first decision point for your household, pay into your freedom first. Spend money on your future freedom first, and then make everything else work out after that. Now, this couple...
I got to say, Cory, that's so brilliant, because so often people think of money I set aside as some kind of current sacrifice,
Right.
as opposed to something to be celebrated about the future that we're building.
And that's probably why Americans as a whole, from year to year, we sometimes have a negative savings rate, meaning spending more money going to debt than we're making, because too many people don't see that as a joyful activity, as buying something really cool with that money. And it's funny, the more that someone connects to that putting this money into a wealth coordination account is buying future freedom, surprise, surprise, it tends to happen a lot more and a lot faster. So this family is putting $80,000 a year, or 20% of their gross income, into their wealth coordination account. Now that 20% is an important number, because some families may need to put more than that in, depending on what their goals are, how quickly they want to get to financial freedom, how much their lifestyle spending is relative to their income. But we've rarely seen it work out for anyone putting in less.
Mm-hmm.
So that 20% is a great starting point. And the purpose of that account, once that money's in there, is to use that money to buy assets or receive proceeds back from the assets that you already have. Paul, do you want to talk about some more specifics of the wealth coordination account and what an asset is?
Totally. I think that's one thing that we've noticed a bunch. If we were holding a large live event right now and all of you were in the audience, and we gave all of you just a piece of paper and said, write down your definition of an asset. If there were 1,000 of you listening right now, this moment, who all filled out that paper and handed it back up, and then Cory and I went through every single definition, we'd probably have as many different definitions of an asset as we had people in the audience.
1,001 out of 1,000 people.
Yeah, that's right. One guy wrote down 2, and they weren't the same. So we define an asset as anything that puts money in your pocket now, or has the ability to put money in your pocket in the future without changing your lifestyle. So what are the things that qualify as an asset under this definition? Well, some kind of simple things, really. One is we have our $80,000 going in a year, and we might be able to buy a vacation home. Now notice I didn't say primary residence. Mm-hmm. And it's because a primary residence is not an asset. It would, under our definition, because it would require a move to go to a new location, to then be able to harvest the proceeds out of that house. That's a lifestyle change. But a vacation home, we could use it a couple weeks a year with our family and have it rented out as a vacation rental the rest of the time. It's not a secondary residence. We don't have one of our cars in the garage or our clothes sitting in the closet. Right. We are moving in there like a vacation rental, and we can sell that and not have a change in lifestyle, because we can go back and rent in the same neighborhood, or maybe even the same house even after selling it. Certain kinds of collectibles qualify as an asset. You know, we have a client with one of those special 1960 Corvettes, and that Corvette is an asset sitting in his garage. He insures it, he maintains it, it appreciates in value. But it's important, if he becomes a member of the Corvette Club, right, and he goes out and has Corvette coffee.
His whole lifestyle is Corvettes. Yeah.
Yep. Then that is no longer an asset unless he has 2 of them, one that he could sell without changing his lifestyle. So it kind of gives you a sense for what that lifestyle versus asset looks like. So, of course, other types of real estate could qualify as an asset. Certain types of life insurance can qualify as an asset. We have some episodes on that you can go back and reference. Mutual funds, business ownership, and some of the other traditional retirement vehicles all count as assets.
All the classics.
But what a lot of people don't think about is just investing back in your human capital. That might be you going and getting an advanced degree that's going to increase your earning capacity. It might be you going and working with folks like Influence Ecology that has a business study in transactionalism. You may have heard some of their founders interviewed on this show. You can invest in something like that, increase your human capital in the marketplace as an asset, which all too often is not talked about as investing back in yourself, certainly not by the financial community, because they don't make any money on managing the assets you put into you.
Right.
So our first part that Cory told us about, add money, make it the first financial decision every month. Second is we buy assets. And third, those assets are going to have some kind of profitability, and we need to have a place that money goes back to. This is key because otherwise money gets lost in the sauce of life. You go out there and you sell something. We've all had a little bit of a windfall. Right. Where does it go, Cory? Right in the checking account. And we inevitably will look at our spouse, kind of feel a little more flush and like, hey, we've been thinking about going to Hawaii. We've been thinking about buying you a car. And some of that money gets lost in the sauce of life. It's okay that we make spending decisions with our assets proceeds, but we need to make sure it's a clear and conscious decision, not one that just sort of happens in the background, slowly eroding our ability to build wealth. You ready
now,
for the...
Some of you thinking about just a couple of the thoughts and questions I know someone is going to have out there. Yes, your 401k IRA, the money's probably just staying right in there and circulating around. There's nothing coming back in and out. It's some of these other accounts that are in a non-retirement kind of tax treatment that mutual funds that might send some dividends or have some capital gain, whether or not you sell the mutual fund that you bought. We're talking about all those kind of things.
Or just think about something that increases your cash flow. After you make about $134,000 a year, you're no longer paying Social Security on your income. Is that money getting captured somewhere? Wealth coordination account can do that. You paid off a car loan, freed up $450 a month. Capture it to your wealth coordination account. It makes...
Or you cancel one of those 1,200 different monthly subscriptions for media that you don't really need. Make it a win and redirect that money back to the wealth coordination account.
Absolutely. And our cure to retirement actually comes when we get enough control over the income being produced by our assets that it replaces what we're spending as a household. So this couple, very simple, they're making $400,000 a year. They're setting aside $80,000 a year to assets. That means we don't have to do that much math. Between taxes, consumption, vacations, house payments, whatever they got going on, it's costing them $320,000 a year. And once their passive income is greater than $320,000, that's when they've reached not retirement, but definite financial independence for the sake of funding a work optional lifestyle, because now they can do the following. They don't need to quit and walk out of work that day, like the quintessential retirement that people talk about, and get the gold watch or whatever else. Look, most of you are entrepreneurs listening to this. Ain't nobody giving you a gold watch anyhow. Doesn't matter how good your career goes. You're the one that gives away gold watches, not the other way around. So what you have the ability to do now, you're still running your business, things are going well, but you have enough passive income to pay all of your bills. You can just save 100% of your earned income. Take all your future pay increases from the cash flow coming from your assets, because if you're setting aside, in this case, $400,000 a year, you're going to notice some increase in your passive income over time. And that's where you take your lifestyle increases. So you're never again dependent on your ability to earn an income. So that's what we wanted to leave you guys with today, that the cure to quote unquote retirement is just building financial independence as a separate conversation from the offer, the help, the difference that you make in the world inside of your career. And it doesn't matter if your business is one that cleans toilets across the city that you're in, or you're designing space-age technology that's going to be in the next Mars rover. What matters is you don't need to have building financial independence mean you're no longer bringing value and you go get retired. Instead, you can bring all of that value, but no longer have your autonomy, freedom, spending ability reliant on how things are going in your career or in your business. Cory, let's get final thoughts, and then we're going to let everybody go and get busily working on not retirement.
This is a deceptively simple strategy, so much so that from time to time, I would lose sight of the value that it brings, but time after time, clients would repeatedly tell us this was one of the most useful and effective structures that they've learned from us in our planning, because it just brings everything into sharp focus and answers that simple question of how much am I putting towards the future, and is it enough?
And I think that makes the point well, Cory, is that so often people don't have a mark, they don't have a target, they don't know. If you ask most people, how much money will it take for you to reach financial independence, they do not answer that question because they've always thought about retirement like points on a board at a certain age. So what do we want for all of you? we want for all of you to be in a position that you no longer have to chase this word of retirement. That instead, what you begin to pursue is building definite financial independence for the sake of funding your work optional lifestyle. That means you take control of your cash flow, you choose how much you're going to put in to that wealth coordination account, and your separate decision is what assets to purchase, all with the aim of putting you in a position that you have definite financial independence. And from me, Cory, and everyone else with Sound Financial Group, we hope that this episode has been a contribution to you being able to design and build a good life. Hey guys, so glad you could tune in and watch that video. I want to remind you to subscribe, be sure to hit the notification bell so you can get the latest piece of financial knowledge that we release. And don't forget, go to Amazon, get a copy of Sound Financial Advice. Why? Because it'll make you better looking and smarter.